Hello friends and welcome. In this video, we are going to see classification of cost. Classification of cost is the arrangement of the items of the cost in logical groups having regard to their nature or purpose. Items should be classified by one characteristics for a specific purpose without ambiguity. Scheme of classification should be such that every item of cost can be classified. Classification of cost is the process of grouping the components of cost under a common designation on the basis of similarities of nature, attributes, or relations. It is the process of identification of each item and the systematic placement of like items together according to their common feature. The basis for the classification is as follows: elements, identifiability, functions, behavior, time, controllability, normality, and association. Let's see the diagram of classification of cost. Classification of cost is done on various bases. First basis is elements. Under element, cost is classified as material cost, labor cost, and expenses. Next is identifiability. Under this, direct cost, indirect cost. Next is function wise. Factory cost, administrative cost, selling and distribution, and research and development. Next is behavior wise. Under behavior, fixed cost, variable cost, and semi-variable cost. Next is time. Under time, historical cost and predetermined cost. Next is controllability. Under controllability, controllable cost and uncontrollable costs. Next is normality. Under it, normal cost and abnormal cost. And the last basis is association. Under association, product cost and period cost. Let's see one by one. The first is element-wise classification of cost. Cost should be gathered together in their nature, groupings such as material, labor, and other direct expenses. Items of cost differ on the basis of their nature. The elements of cost can be classified in the following three categories: material, labor, and expenses. Let's see first material cost. Material cost is the cost of material of any nature used for the purpose of production of a product or a service. It includes cost of materials, freight inwards, taxes and duties, insurance, directly attributable to acquisition. Next type is labor cost. Labor cost means the payment made to the employees, permanent or temporary, for their services. Labor cost includes salaries and wages paid to the permanent employees, temporary employees, and so to the employees of the contractor. Here, salaries and wages include all the benefits like provident fund, gratuity, overtime, incentives, etc. Next is expenses. Expenses are other than material cost or labor cost which are involved in an activity. In expenses, those expenses or those costs which not include in material cost or labor cost which are categorized under these expenses. Next classification is identifiability. When an item of cost is identifiable with or traceable to a production unit or center, it is referred to its identifiability. On the basis of identifiability, Cost can be classified into direct cost and indirect cost. Direct cost. It refers to the cost which are directly identifiable with each unit of production or service or with a department or center. Next is indirect cost. Simply speaking, these costs are which are not directly identifiable with any product, department or process but can be apportioned to it or them. That is called indirect cost. Next classification is as per function. A business enterprise performs a number of functions like manufacturing, selling, research, etc. Cost may be required to be determined for each of these functions, and on this basis functional costs, and it is classified into following types: factory cost, administration cost, selling and distribution cost, and research and development cost. Let's see first factory cost. Factory cost is the cost of all items involved in the production of a product or service. These refer to the cost of operating the manufacturing division of an undertaking and include all costs incurred by the factory from the receipt of raw materials and supply of labor and services until the production is completed and the finished product is packed with the primary packing. The following are the considered as a production or manufacturing cost: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, and factory overheads. These are the aggregate of factory indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. All are includes in factory costs. Next is administration cost. It is also called as office cost. Administration costs are expenses incurred for general management of an organization. These are in the nature of indirect cost and are also termed as administrative overheads. Example of administrative costs are salaries of office staff, accountants and directors, rent, rates and depreciation of the office building, postage, stationery and telephone, office supplies and expenses, and general administration expenses. Next type is selling and distribution cost. Selling costs are indirect costs relating to selling of products or services and include all indirect costs in sale management for the organization. Distribution costs are the cost incurred in handling a product from time it is completed in the works until it reaches the ultimate customer. Example of selling and distribution costs are salaries and commission of salesmen and sales manager, expenses of advertisement, insurance, rent, rates, depreciation and insurance of sales office and warehouses, cost of insurance, freight, export, duty, packing, shipping, maintenance of delivery vans, etc. are the examples of selling and distribution overheads. And the last is research and development cost. Research and development cost. Research and development costs are the cost for undertaking research to improve the quality of a present product or improve process of manufacture, develop a new product, market research, etc. and commercialization thereof. Research and development cost comprise the following: development of new product, improvement of existing products, finding new uses of known products, solving technical problem arising in manufacture and application of products. Development cost includes the cost incurred for commercialization, implementation of research findings. Next basis is behavior. Costs are classified based on its behavior as fixed cost, variable cost, and semi-variable cost, depending upon response to the changes in the activity levels or production level. Let's see one by one. First is fixed cost. Fixed cost is the cost which does not vary with the change in the volume of activity in the short run. These costs are not affected by temporary fluctuation in production of an organization. Examples are rent, depreciation, salary, etc. These expenses are such as they are not changed or not affected due to changes in the output. Next cost is variable cost. Variable cost is the cost of elements which tends to directly vary with the volume of activity. Example, all direct costs are variable costs such as direct material, direct labor, direct expenses and direct overheads. And the next is semi-variable costs. Semi-variable costs contain both fixed and variable elements. They are partially affected by fluctuation in the level of production. These partially fixed and partially variable cost. Example, electricity bill, maintenance, etc. Next type is time. According to time, the costs are classified as historical cost and predetermined cost. First, historical cost. Historical costs are the actual cost of acquiring assets or producing goods or services. They are costs ascertained after they have been incurred, and they represent the cost of actual operational performance. Next is predetermined cost. Predetermined cost for a product are computed in advance of production process on the basis of specification of all the factors affecting cost and cost data. Next type is controllability. Under this, costs are classified according to whether or not they are influenced by the action of management of the organization. On the basis of it is classified into two categories: controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. Let's see first controllable cost. Controllable costs are those which can be influenced by the action of specified member of an undertaking. That is it to say, costs which are at least partially within the control of management. All direct costs, including direct material, direct labor, and some of the overhead expenses, are controllable by lower level of management. Next type is uncontrollable cost. Uncontrollable costs are those which cannot be influenced by the action of specified member of an undertaking. That it is to say, which are within the control of management. Most of the fixed costs are uncontrollable. For example, rent of the building. Next type is normality. Under this, costs are classified according to whether these are costs which are normally incurred as a given level of output in the condition in which that level of activity is normally attained. On the basis of it, the classification of cost is done in two ways. First is normal cost and abnormal cost. First, normal cost. It is the cost which is normally incurred at given level of output in the condition in which that level of output is normally attained. It is a part of cost of production. Second is abnormal cost. It is the cost which is not normally incurred at a given level of output in the conditions in which that level of output is normally attained. It is not a part of cost of production and charged to costing profit and loss account. Next is association. Product costs. Product costs are those which are identified with the product and included in inventory values. They can be charged, allocated, or apportioned to the products. They include direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, and manufacturing or production overheads. Next is period cost. Period costs are those costs which are not identified with the product or job. They are incurred and paid for a particular period, like rent, rates, taxes, salaries, etc. Their benefit is usually exhausted with the expiry of certain period. In this video, we have seen various classification of cost according to their characteristics, nature, behavior, and so on. I hope you understand the classification of cost. Thank you.